Final Exam, Heroes vs. Villains. Written by Seize the Writer. Read by Yours Prinks. Chapter 7, Peace Before Battle. Summary. It's the weekend before final exam week. The team finished their preparation. Saturday night, everyone sits down and enjoys time together. Midoriya wasn't sure if he even knew what sleep was at this point. He was beginning to feel like Aizawa. Maybe a sleeping bag wasn't a bad idea. At the thought, he laughed and started finishing up. Over the past few days, he saw his team go from a group of kids that had either been doubted, discriminated against, or just wanted a chance to prove themselves, turn into a group of confident individuals, ready to fight together as a team. It was a weird difference. Most of them were in the hero course, and have fought together in a few battles already, whether it was just practice or not. Looking at the clock, he knew he could sleep for a few hours, but it would be better to begin to prepare for the test runs. He wanted everyone to go through each plan step by step. That way, they knew what to do and how to do it. Even if it was just theoretical, it was better to know what to do even if you can't do it, since they would need to do it in the future. Midoriya stood up, got dressed, brushed his teeth, and made his way to the practice gym he signed up to have for the day. Walking inside, he got everything set up for that afternoon. Once he was done, he went over the supplies list. Checking that everything was accounted for, he made his way back to the main building. Mei had gotten an extra hour of sleep, but just because Midoriya said they could sleep in didn't mean that she wanted to spend all morning in bed. She walked into her workshop by 10 and was surprised to find Midoriya already inside working on something. "What are you up to? I'm supposed to be the one who makes things, remember?" she said, smirking at him. He didn't react when she walked in, or when she spoke to him, and she was surprised, as he was one of, if not the most observant people she knew. Walking up to him, she tapped on his shoulder and he jumped. "Mei, I didn't hear you come in. How was your morning? Do you need anything?" he asked, pulling out wireless earbuds. "Just checking on you. You didn't respond when I asked what you're doing in my job. We can't have the boss losing his mind before the event even starts now. Can we?" Mei laughed. "Oh, well, I'm fine. I was just listening to music and working on random designs," he said, gesturing to the table with blueprints and costume designs. Mei nodded and moved to start finishing the last of the support gear she and Shinso would be using. Shinso's quirk was useful when others didn't know he was there or didn't know his quirk. Knowing that, they had spent a day testing different ways to use his quirk. They tried speakers, but the sound frequencies interfered. They tested what counted as a response, and found if the opponent used their vocal cords when responding, he could control them. After those tests, it was easy to design different support items for him to use. They started with a voice amplifier and voice changer. That would make it easier for others to hear him and make it so he could copy the voices of students, teachers, and anyone else he was able to copy before the exam. They also put together a series of voice amplifiers that he could set up and use, but they weren't as foolproof and still needed to be adjusted. If Mei could manage a prototype that worked well enough, they would bring it. Mei needed a few different items to make sure she was safe, and in case she gets stuck in a situation that she needs to defend herself. Working with the others when training in the firing range allowed her to get the permission needed to use paintball guns like everyone else. She also carried a taser and the mobile computer attached to her wrist that she'll always have running for her to hack into any nearby electronics that might help distract or defeat opponents. As she continued to tinker on her and Shinso's equipment, Deku was working on several backup plans. No one knew just what his master plan was. Each team knew individual plans, but only he knew the entire plan. They didn't know how far he was going to not only win this, but to make it known that he is not to be messed with. Everyone knew he was a hero. It was obvious, but he wanted everyone to realize that they were lucky he chose to be a hero, when he could have been a great villain without a quirk. No one would know he was quirkless before, other than the ones who already did. Proving that he would be a terrifying villain quirkless was to prove to himself, Bakugo, All Might, and Netsu that they were lucky he got his quirk. For everyone else, this exam would just demonstrate that he isn't just terrifyingly powerful, but he is also scary, smart, and can be brutal, if it means he achieves his goals. Choosing not to use his quirk during the exam may not be something anyone notices, but the ones who do will likely see him differently. Whether that means they fear him or appreciate him more won't be decided until the exam. Working hunched over the table, he then moved to the corner of the workshop to a small area Mei had when she needed a break, and sat down. The beanbag chair was surprisingly comfortable, and as he wrote, he slowly drifted off to sleep. Yorosu moved into the workshop quietly and was glad to see Midoriya sleeping. She knew it was strictly out of exhaustion, and if she didn't know he would be upset if he wasn't there for the walkthrough, she would have let him continue sleeping. Ignoring him for a moment, she looked to see what Mei was doing. "When did you fall asleep?" Yorosu whispered as she sat down next to Mei.
"Maybe an hour ago. He was working on more plans. Probably just backups. He was already here when I showed up at 10, working on designs and plans. He got up and moved to the beanbag chair and was sleeping within 5 minutes.
Mei explained, lowering her voice. "Well, I want him to stay here if I'm honest, but if I don't wake him up, he won't be very happy," Yorosu confessed.
"He deserves a break. We'll wake him up for the walkthroughs, but we just need to make sure he goes to bed tonight. Or you need to, since you guys live in the same building,"
Mei said. "I just hope I can get him to sleep. I was thinking about taking everyone out for the night, but I need to make sure everyone wants to go, and I want it to be a surprise, since tomorrow we don't need to be in bed until early afternoon," Yorosu said, almost as if she was thinking out loud.
"Ooh, that sounds like fun. I'm sure everyone would want to, especially after this past week. Midoriya is great. He's extremely caring and hardworking, but he expects the same effort from everyone else, so a lot of the team is exhausted, because not everyone can keep up with his work ethic,"
Mei said, getting louder. "So, why are you doing this? Do you have a reason to help Midoriya? Or do you want to just show off your inventions?" Yorosu asked.
"When Midoriya asked me to help, he was right. I want to see my inventions be used on the field. As a support student, I want to help you guys do your best, and the only way to do that is to work together. This was a great opportunity for me, since everyone can see that my inventions work, and even if I'm a bit crazy at times, you guys can trust my work." He never strayed away from working with me. His current gauntlets I helped design, as well as the body armor he started wearing recently. I'm proud of the body armor. I have it designed to conduct electricity without electrocuting him. The gauntlets also connect to the armor and can add an extra sting to its punch. He isn't scared to work with me, even if I have a habit of breaking things. He wants to help everyone, and is willing to do anything to be at his best. In some ways, I hope doing this is a way to pay him back for helping me so much, as well as to prove to everyone else that they can trust my work,"
Mei said, and it was the first time Yorosu thought about how everyone views her. Usually, the students just go to Power Loader or another support student. They avoid her because she usually blows something up. "I'm sorry about that. It's not that my class doesn't trust your work. They're just scared to be near you when you have an idea or are working, since you tend to blow stuff up, and we already get into dangerous situations. If we die being heroes, we die doing what we wanted to do. If we die because of an accidental explosion a support student made, it's a pointless death," Yorosu explained, hoping that it would make Mei feel better.
"It's okay. No matter what, this exam will prove why you guys can work with me without fear. What's your reason for joining Midoriya?" He mentioned that pervert Mineta, but he also mentioned confidence issues,
Mei asked. "Well, it was because of Mineta, but it was also because I always think I'm making the wrong decision. I doubted my instincts, and it caused me to lose at the school festival. During an exam earlier this year, I had trouble speaking up, and eventually we did use my plan, but I need to be able to make quick decisions and be confident in myself. I want to prove that I deserve to be here like everyone else," Yorosu said. Mei just nodded and went to wake up Midoriya, since he would want to be at the gym everyone was meeting at early. The gym was already prepared when they got there, and Yorosu was shocked. What time did he wake up? The gym was set up as a mock version of each major building, and had a giant map with the actual battle site in the middle of the room. It was obvious that Cementos had a hand in the building that wasn't usually in this gym, but everything else seemed to be set up by Deku. Props of each objective were set up where they were supposed to be, with basic traps that looked like the ones that they might run into during the exam. Waiting under the map, he greeted everyone as they came in. Once everyone was there, he called out the first group he wanted to go, and had them go through with the plan. They went through the first 2 plans they had for each objective, and slowly made their way through, until they finished the last objective. Nightfall had finally taken over as they went for dinner. The last 9 hours were spent doing the walkthrough and everyone was exhausted. They began to prepare for their late dinner. They decided to order pizza to eat together. She wanted Midoriya to relax, but she knew if they weren't all relaxing, he wouldn't do it himself. So she talked to the villain team in a group chat without Midoriya, and asked Ida to ask the hero team whether they would join them for a movie night. It took a few hours before she got a response, but they would be joining them for the movie. She had asked Aizawa to bring Eri if possible, since Midoriya enjoyed being near her, as well as getting some extra couches and blankets for everyone. As the pizza arrived, She found everyone waiting in the living room. She told them to get some food and they would start the movies. Scanning the room, she saw Aizawa and Eri, the villain team members minus Shinso and Mei since they were still a secret, and the hero team. But Midoriya, who she had set this up for, was nowhere to be seen.
Miss Momo, where is Deku?
Eri looked up at her and asked, "Yes, where is the problem child? He should be here as well," Aizawa said. "I'm not sure. I'm thinking he went off to train again. He's been pushing himself really hard for this exam, which is why I wanted to have a movie night with everyone, so he would relax for a few hours," she explained.
Then we gotta find him,
Eri said. "Yeah, Yorozu. Find him, and I'll keep them all settled," he said, and he turned and walked away with Eri. With that settled, Yorozu snuck out the front door and made her way to the gym he usually trained in. Finding him there was no surprise, but she hadn't expected to see what he was doing. Midoriya was shirtless, with green lightning pulsing off him, and black tendrils crushing multiple fighting dummies. They were supposed to be strong enough to withstand a full-force punch from the muscular villain that Midoriya had fought during the training camp, and he was crushing them without touching them. It wasn't the first time she had seen his new quirk, Black Whip, but she didn't realize just how powerful it was. Snapping out of it, she walked inside. "Midoriya, can I talk to you?" she asked, getting his attention. "Oh, Yorozu, I wasn't expecting you. What did you want to talk about?" he responded. "I know how hard you've been working. Everyone really appreciates the amount of time and energy you have put into this exam, and you tell everyone to relax after dinner, and even gave them the okay to sleep in today. Well, I was hoping you would join us for a movie night. You deserve to relax, and everyone will be there. Hero team as well. I even got Eri to come. So how about it, Captain?" she asked. "Well, I need a shower, but I guess if everyone is expecting me, I better be there, right?" he said. "That's okay. You can shower as you pick the first movie. Then you can join us," Yorozu said, beaming. Yorozu stood there as Midoriya made sure everything was in order and left a notice that the training bots needed to be replaced. Picking his jacket and bag up, they left the gym together. Before Yorozu came into the gym, he had been preparing for the exam. They had everything ready. Their gear was already in the trucks they would be arriving in. Aizawa confirmed their building was being stocked Sunday morning. Everyone understood their roles for the exam, and the only thing they could do now was to make sure no matter how the hero team reacts, they counter them appropriately. Midoriya was stressed about the possible variables that he missed or couldn't account for, hoping he wouldn't hurt his friends. Hoping he could be his normal, happy self during the exam was stressing him out. He planned on playing the part of a villain, and that's okay. He knew the information he carried could be dangerous if he made it. Midoriya realized, after rescuing Eri and reading about her quirk, the amount of information he wrote in his notebooks was dangerous, so he coded them appropriately. He considered asking Aizawa or Principal Netsu to help, but he decided against it for now. "Yorozu, do you think I'm dangerous?" he asked abruptly. "I never thought about it before, but I could consider you dangerous. You're very intelligent, especially when strategizing and analyzing. Your quirk is also really powerful, and it's not only a danger to yourself, but also others, because of its sheer power. The plans you laid out for this exam show that you're dangerous without your quirk, but just because you could be dangerous doesn't mean I think you are a dangerous person. Midoriya, you're not a villain. Sure, if you were, I think the best choice for someone would be to run and hope you didn't care or see them. But you're a hero, one of the best in UA. Everyone can be dangerous, given the right tools and circumstances. I think it's whether you choose to be dangerous or not. Midoriya, I told you I would make sure you don't cross any lines, and I meant it," Yorozu said confidently. "Okay, let's get back. I'm sure people are getting annoyed about waiting for so long," Midoriya said. The rest of the walk back was peaceful, as they enjoyed the cool air and night sky. As they walked in together, everyone turned, and many of the students smiled, and asked Midoriya how he had been. He just said hi and that he was okay, as Eri ran up to him and started talking to him. Yaoyorozu was glad that Eri distracted him, because a lot of the stares he was getting right now would probably scare him. He usually got awkward and tried to leave whenever he was under too much social pressure. Yaoyorozu knew that a lot of these stares were girls and guys thirsting over Midoriya's glistening muscles, bouncing curls, as well as the way he interacted with Eri. Yaoyorozu was sure some of the girls watching weren't even interested in him, but the way Eri bended over to him and excitedly talked to him was probably giving them some baby fever. Uraraka and Todoroki were also staring, but quickly got up to go talk to him. If she wasn't sure, she would say Uraraka looked like she wanted to pounce on him. The thought bothered Yaoyorozu, as she was still denying the fact that she liked Midoriya as more than a friend at this point. Watching Midori from behind, she started to focus on what they were talking about.
Deku, where were you? We're supposed to be watching movies, not playing hide and seek.
Eri joked. Over the past few months, everyone was doing their best to get Eri used to normal kid activities and warming up to everyone, and it was working well. I'm sorry I'm late, Eri. I wasn't told we were doing movies, so I went to work out, Midori explained. Eri said it was okay, before pulling him down to her height. As she was doing so, a few of Midoriya's friends made their way over. Eri had begun telling him all about her week and was asking him what he had been doing since she had last seen him. Midori didn't go into details, but said he had been preparing for his exam next week and was busy making sure everything was ready.
Deku! I'm so glad to see you! It feels like it's been years since we spent any time together,
Uraraka said as she reached him. Likewise. Midoriya, how has your week been? Are you ready for Monday? Ida asked. Uraraka, I missed you too, but I promise it hasn't been that long. We'll hang out plenty once the semester's over. First, I have an exam to win. Ida, I'm tired, but we're prepared. Just remember, no hard feelings, Midoriya said with a cheeky smile. We will beat you, Midoriya. Remember what happened last time we declared war? I won, Todoroki said.
Wait, why are you beating up Deku? He's your friend, right, Deku? Why are you fighting with your friends?
Eri asked, with genuine concern. Oh, Eri, sweetheart, it's just for our exam. We're still friends. We're just on different teams. So we'll be fighting against each other, Midoriya said, hoping that what he said would be true after next week.
Oh, okay. You'll win though. No one can beat you. So, that's not fair,
Eri said. Thanks, Eri. I'll try and win. But I'm only so strong, and I can't bring you with me to help, so I need to hold back. And no, you can't come with me. That would be cheating. Midori added the last part, seeing the gears in her head reaching the same idea.
Okay, if you say so,
she pouted.
It's okay, Eri. If you ask Aizawa, maybe he'll let you watch us,
Uraraka said. Standing up, Midori agreed by nodding his head, even though he'd make sure to tell Aizawa not to let her watch, and instead show her a recording of the nicer parts of the exam. That's a great idea. Now, I'm gonna shower, so start the movie and I'll be down soon, he said, picking Eri up for a hug.
Deku, you really stink. Make sure you scrub a lot,
Eri said, crinkling her nose. Midoriya laughed and put her down, before excusing himself to go shower. During his absence, they chose the movie and started it. They knew that Midoriya knew the movie, so if he missed a part of it, he wouldn't be missing anything. After 15 minutes, Midori made his way down the stairs in plain gray pajama pants and an oversized pale pink hoodie. Midoriya grabbed 2 slices of pizza and water before sitting down next to Eri. Aizawa was sitting on the far end of the couch next to Eri, while Monoma, Sue, Yaoyorozu, and Ida sat on the other side of her, with Uraraka and Todoroki on the floor in front of her. Eri moved over to give Midoriya enough room. Once he was done with his food, he got up again to put the plate in the dishwasher and recycle the water bottle he downed. Hey, Eri, how about you move to the middle so we can all sit next to Midoriya? Yaoyorozu suggested.
Okay,
she said quickly, before moving. Yaoyorozu knew that everyone had missed spending time with Midoriya, so even if they were just by him as they watched movies, they would be happy. It was likely the reason Uraraka and Todoroki chose to sit on the floor in front of Deku, rather than being pushed at the far edge of the couch. Midoriya noticed that they had moved around, so Eri was sitting in the middle, but wasn't sure why. He thought their previous spot was good enough, but he wasn't going to complain about seeing the movie even easier. When he came back, Eri got up and had him sit down before crawling on top of his lap. Next to him on his right was Yaoyorozu and Monoma, while Ida and Sue sat on his left. Uraraka and Todoroki sat directly in front of him. The movie was a popular Disney movie that had continued to be a favorite of children and adults. Eventually, Eri grew tired and snuck underneath Midoriya's giant sweatshirt, squeezing her head out of it, and falling asleep on his shoulder. During the movie, he'd begun to play with Uraraka's hair without realizing it. Removing his hand from her hair, he gently wrapped his arms around Eri and drifted off to sleep as well. Yaoyorozu was glad to see him fall asleep, and was sure that without Eri, Midori would have stayed up through the movies, and pulled another all-nighter. He was cute when sleeping, and even more so when he was holding Eri in his arms. He would make an amazing dad one day. Yaoyorozu shook the thought from her head, and continued watching the movie. After another movie, she had fallen asleep too. It was morning when Yaoyorozu woke up. She must have sprawled out, because she could feel her arm across someone. Looking up, her eyes widened in realization as she saw Midori's green curls and freckled face. Eri was still wrapped inside of his sweatshirt with one arm supporting her, and Yaoyorozu saw that she had reached across and was holding Eri. Sitting up, she stretched, before looking around at everyone else. Aizawa was missing, so he most likely went back to the teachers' dorms. Uraraka and Todoroki were not on the floor, but had made their way to the couch to fill Ida and Sue's empty spots. Uraraka was using Midori's lap as a pillow, as she had wrapped her arms around his waist, and Midori had his hand in her hair again, while Todoroki was asleep on the edge of the couch, with his back to Uraraka and head on Midori's knee. Yaoyorozu thought that there was no way that was comfortable, but they just seemed to want to be as close as possible, and that did the trick. A few others must have gone up to their rooms as well. She didn't see most of Class 1A, but everyone from Class 1B was still spread out on the couches and floor. Monoma was lying down in Aizawa's empty spot, so he had plenty of room, unlike Todoroki. But when you're fighting for a spot to be right next to Midoriya, you have more options. If she was honest, she wasn't sure why Midoriya was so worried. The entire class loves and respects Midoriya, other than Bakugo. But he's a jerk that doesn't respect anyone. Midoriya might win this exam, but Yaoyorozu doesn't see any way that ends in people thinking he's a monster. She's read through his plans, and none of them were that crazy, other than the fact that they were doing villainous things. But it's a part of the exam. If the team didn't do these things, they might not pass. Yaoyorozu read through his notebooks, and they were a bit extreme and in the wrong hands scary, but this was Midoriya, so there was no reason to worry about it. Getting up, she went to make herself some tea and wait for everyone else to wake up. Midoriya woke up and realized that Eri was still wrapped in his sweatshirt. He didn't want to disturb her after the nightmare she had. She handled herself well. He thought it might have involved him, since she seemed relieved to see he was still there. He didn't want to interfere unless she started crying or woke him up, but she simply stared at him for a few minutes and put her head on his chest, probably checking for a heartbeat. Once she was satisfied, she laid down again. He had rubbed her back until she was asleep again. He hadn't slept well. It was a weird position, and he had Eri's extra weight on his chest and stomach. He also noticed Uraraka and Todoroki came up onto the couch and used him as a pillow. Yaoyorozu did the same thing with his shoulder, but she had wrapped her arm around Eri when she was having her nightmare, so he was happy that she was so close. He was happy that the others were there too, but it just made his sleep more difficult to come by. He had really missed his friends, and when Uraraka wrapped herself around him, he just sat in silence and ran his hand through her hair in a way that made it seem like he was asleep. She always enjoyed having her hair played with. It seemed to relax her, so she was asleep shortly after that. Midoriya sat there for a while, before getting his phone out, and seeing that the design team said that they finished the costumes that morning. That was great news. They could all meet up to try on the costumes. They should fit, since the measurements used were up to date, but making sure would allow them to make any modifications needed before the exam. Once they were done, they could have the team lunch he had planned on doing, since dinner wouldn't work today. Sending a text to meet in the room at 11:30 allowed them plenty of time to wake up and get ready before heading over. He also told them about lunch, so they could decide whether to eat when they get up or wait until lunchtime. After a few minutes, Uraraka had begun to stir. She looked at Midori and smiled, before realizing she had her arms wrapped around his waist.
Good morning,
she said awkwardly. Good morning, Uraraka. How did you sleep? Midoriya asked.
Oh, I slept really well. I'm sorry about using you as a pillow, but we didn't have any,
she said, not making any indication she was going to move. It's okay. I'm glad you slept well. Let me get my hand untangled, he said. She was a little sad that he wasn't going to continue playing with her hair, but it was nice while it lasted. She didn't move after that. She just lay there in silence, enjoying the time they still had. They spent a lot of time together usually, so the past week had been weird. They usually studied together or just hung out for fun. When Ida said they were doing a movie night with both classes, she was excited since she could spend the movie with Midoriya, which she did, but Yaoyorozu and Ida were the ones who got to sit next to him. She kind of wished she was Eri, who got her free pass to sit in his lap whenever she wanted. Midoriya and her were used to cuddling with each other. They are best friends, and they spend so much time together. Falling asleep next to each other happened now and then. She also had problems with nightmares after everything that had happened that year, so finding her knocking on his door in the middle of the night was a normal occurrence. He looked down at Uraraka and was reminded of how much they had gone through together. They made it through the USJ, the training camp, and Eri's rescue. She helped comfort him after he had run into the League. They had killed 3 civilians before he could distract them enough for a pro hero to show up. He blamed himself for that for a long time, but Uraraka was always there to tell him it wasn't his fault. To remind him that he's a kid, even if he's a hero in training, he is just a 16-year-old. When Eri finally began to wake up, Uraraka got up so they could go get breakfast. Todoroki had gotten up and moved next to Midoriya on his other side. He didn't talk much in the morning though, so he just nodded at Midoriya when he said good morning. Once in the kitchen, Midoriya had Eri sit at the table as he cooked. Yaoyorozu entertained her while he made them breakfast. It was a nice morning, and once they went to test out the uniforms, he was glad to see everyone fit comfortably in them. Lunch was another pleasant experience, and before they knew it, they were getting ready to go to bed again. Midoriya had told everyone to be up at midnight so they could get ready and move into the fake city. Each truck was packed, and they met at the gate, waiting for Aizawa. Once in the city, they unpacked, and Aizawa went over the basics of the building, so they knew where the different rooms were. "Hey, before you leave, can I talk to you?" Midoriya asked. "What is it, problem child?" he responded as they walked downstairs. "Eri was talking about asking you to watch the exam, since we hadn't spent much time together the last week. And I said this week I'd be busy as well. I don't want her to watch this. She's gonna see a part of me that no one has seen, and I don't want her to think differently of me," Midoriya explained. "I heard you guys last night. I won't let her watch it. I'll find a way to distract her from your and Murio's absence this week," Aizawa explained. "Okay, good. Well, enjoy the show," Midoriya said, waving as he walked back inside. As the final countdown came to a close, it was time for the villains to put on a show. This is the last chapter before the exam. I'm feeling pretty hyped. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this podfic, and I will see you when I do. Toodaloo!